which at the end of the conference, nevertheless, we find a point like today, and thank you very much for coming for the closing of the ICEGOV 2007 conference. Within 1 hour, we would like to look back at the conference at the ICEGOV 2007 perspective. Theresa will give you some reflections on the conference, what has been achieved, what we have learned, and how we would like to move forward. Following this, we'd like to ask you for, I can speak my normal voice. We will try to ask you to provide us with some highlights that you would consider very important to carry from the conference. What issues you consider we would like to embody into a communique for the conference. We will have an award ceremony following this. We selected 3 papers, 3 meritorious papers in the theory, practice, and theory versus practice category. Next, I will talk a little bit about the follow-up of ICEGOV 2007 and ICEGOV 2008. What are the plans for the next year conference? Closing remarks will be given by Mr. Joe Tu, representing Macao SAR government, Mr. Chris George from UNU-IIST, and myself. Okay, Theresa, can I ask you?
Good afternoon, everyone. I have the pleasure of having the opportunity to give a short overview of the conference. I think that's quite an opportunity to have the last word on a few things, which I always like. But it also gives me the opportunity to draw some attention to some of the very impressive things that have happened here this week. And again, to give thanks to the Macao team here who has done an amazing job, Elia, Elsa, and Tomasz. I think we should start this closing ceremony with a round of applause to them. Maybe I could ask you actually to stand up. Does everyone know who you all are? I think okay, there you are. An amazing effort here, as illustrated by this very impressive 4-day virtually marathon event, unparalleled, at least at HICS and DEXA and DG.O in terms of its length, and I think certainly in direct competition in terms of its robustness and content. So I think as a complement to these conferences that many of us are already participants in, and we hope to see more of you at, we have a wonderful set of opportunities to bring this community together on a regular basis. I wanted to just make a couple of quick points about what I think is going on here, and I look forward to hearing your comments as we talk about the communique. I forgot to check on the notes. I think first it's important to note that the conference was about bringing together theory and practice. And I think that one of the best ways to illustrate that is to look simply back at this diagram that Tomasz presented to us on the first day. Simply the visualization of the papers allows us to, I think, say mission accomplished in terms of bringing together research and practice. 74% of the papers were practice, or 74 practice papers, 63 research papers, and 22 solutions papers. That's a wonderful distribution, I think, and it's very much reflected in the audience here. We got to think about the issues of bringing together theory and practice through 6 tutorials, 79 paper presentations, and 7 panels, all of which I think meet the Sharon Dawes, is this a successful meeting criteria by the volume of the conversation, both during and after each of these sessions. There was tremendous interest and engagement in all of these sessions, and I think you're all to be applauded for that. Different laptops. Okay, where's the mouse? I think it's also important to point out that this effort was undertaken to bring together an international community, and I think there's been success there as well. Over 50 countries represented in the paper authors. I think that's very, very impressive, and we should take a moment to recognize that and understand that. And when we say international in this particular conference, we mean it. It's very international and very balanced in terms of theory and practice. And so I think if you look across the title of the conference, the International Conference on Theory and Practice, all of those words are actually captured, not just in the title, but in the essence of what's occurred here this week. We have the opportunity here, in addition to the various papers, a set of leaders in the field. They allowed us to see inside their heads in terms of the new ideas and new perspectives that I think will frame the conversations in this community for some time. We heard from Sharon. I'm not that facile with hyperlinks, so I got carried away with myself here. So I shouldn't tell you that, I realize. Okay. Anybody have any ideas? I know where I'm going, and okay, here we go. You've all done live demos, right? You take a system out before it's been fully tested. This is what happens, right? Luckily, before I became a social scientist, I had some experience as a computer scientist and an applications developer, so yeah, I apparently didn't learn that very well. But what we heard from Sharon about bringing together research and practice, I think a couple of the key slides that she shared with us, the idea of creating a synthesis across our views, not just having those views and cultivating them deeply, but spending much of our time bringing together a more holistic understanding. So let's see if this works. Okay, she spent some time telling us about the unhelpful views from research and government, how we tend to look at each other, and provided us some opportunity to think about that, to reflect upon that as part of that session. And I think that was a very helpful opportunity for us to think about ways we might come together in new ways, how we might optimize the strengths in each of our individual areas and bring them together. But not just bring them together, but bring them together at the most opportune time where we can make a difference. And I think Sharon laid out a design for us that makes tremendous sense in terms of thinking through where and when do we come together.